The other thing is, and this is getting a little ahead, is that when we build a correction, we always have this piece that's historical data, is what I call it, and that's like where it originated from. It usually involves one of the parents. So doing that and kind of building into those corrections, it actually changes a lot of stuff about your parents at the same time. And so, like my dad is not very relational at all. And so basically it was my job to maintain the relationship when I became an adult. And so he would never call, he would never do anything, and then he'd be mad at me that I wasn't doing my job, which was to stay engaged with him. And even though I didn't understand a lot of things, by the age of 23, I had a conversation with him, and I was like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm not totally responsible for this. And it wasn't as nice and neat as clean as this. I was kind of yelling at him about it, but I was like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. Do you know that it took him 2 years to call me? 2 years. 2 years. And then he called me out of the blue, and it was like a normal conversation. Within that 2-year time period, I had gotten a little therapy, even started to develop some of this. And by the time he called, I didn't need him in that way anymore. I had moved away from his job is to witness and approve of me, and I want to get this from him. And I didn't need it anymore. I even think that's why he even called, is that it was almost an energetic thing. And he's like, oh, he's not pulling on me anymore to give him this stuff that I'm not capable of doing. He is not capable. I believe he's even willing, but incapable. So then he called, and I think we had a conversation about, like, I don't know, anything. I don't remember what it was. This was a long time ago. It's 20 years ago. But it was something like just benign, and it was like we had talked the day before. And I was able to do that because I didn't have all this gook in there trying to make it not be that way. And from that moment forward, I was able to accept him for who he was. Really. And it was very freeing. And then he could be a part of my life, but he's not ever going to be what maybe I wanted him to be. But he is who he is, and now we have all kinds of conversations about, taxes and, like, whatever. Like, once I kind of moved into, frankly, when I started to become successful, my father all of a sudden paid more attention, because those are things that he could understand. People are people. And so if you don't need it from them anymore, you can just accept them for who they are. And now I would say we have a good relationship. Is it really deep? No. How would that happen? That's not who he is. Do I love him? Yes. Does he love me? Yeah. But it has limits. There's a lot of limits in the one with your stepdad. So it's just kind of like, So like the mental and emotional blocks, they really are blocks. They're like these energetic blocks made up of feelings, and they're in the energy channels of the body. And it makes you vibrate a certain way, essentially. And whenever your vibration changes, this is kind of a woo way to talk about what I do. There's also a very Western way to talk about it, but I feel compelled to say more woo-woo right now. But basically, like, your resonance changes, and then you attract different things in the same people around you. It's weird, but it does happen. Most of life is unseen. It's actually not seen and focused on what you're saying to people. It's how it feels.
How do you protect and contain? Because I had a very similar experience with my dad, where there's a lot of stuff to think around to get to the point of, like, this is just going to be what it is, and that's okay. And that was good for a few years, and then recently there's just another.
Because it's basically what happened is you compartmentalized it because you got fatigued. And I don't blame you. This is healthy. Your defense system was like, I'm never going to get this from him. Just forget it. But this little boy in there still wants that stuff. And so what happens is that little boy gets triggered, and you've had some triggering experiences now, like whatever it is that you're going to say about what's happened recently. But it's because it's not been fully resolved that it comes back. Whenever it's more resolved, which I would not tell you this and show you something if I didn't know that it would resolve it. I'll tell you that right now, okay? But when it's resolved, then you don't get re-triggered. And if you do, it's like real small. Like you're like, oh yeah, there's that, oh yeah, I remember this crap. I'm not going to go there. So it was compartmentalized, and it hasn't been fully healed. And that's why it's triggered. Yes, Chad.
Most of the issues I have with core work issues of less than seem to originate in my teen years. Is that a possibility, or is that just my wounded child filtering through it at that time?
It's not that you don't develop wounding once you're out of like the actual 0 to 5, but there actually were probably wounds that are before then, when you were little, that you just don't have access to.
Right.
But the thing is in correction, you would still correct what you know. So you would still be working with your child, even if that incident occurred in your teen years, because that child is in there.
Yeah.
So
that makes me think there's things I'm not quite seeing in the 0 to 6 period.
Oh yeah,
that
I'm
cause
sure.
that.
And there are. And so those things can become uncovered even with just having a framework. Like it's already got you thinking like maybe there's something else. And so those incidents would come up as a part of the work. Like as you're doing the corrections and stuff, you will start to gain more access to what maybe occurred before. But you're never wasting your time at any point of doing a correction. You don't have to always go, what's the original wound? You just start with what you know, and you just go there. But then it'll deepen over time. So like you do corrections and you're focusing on these teen years, but what you're doing is you're kind of peeling back layers, because you're actually shaving emotional blocks. Think of like a big block of ice, and you do a correction and you shave a chunk off. So it deepens. You get deeper and deeper. And then basically you go as deep as you want to go, and then you may not want to go any deeper. And that's fine. Like, I mean, I am no longer, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time now, like with myself. Remember, I made it for me. But I will keep going to a level of depth, and then I'll like back off sometimes, where I'm like, I don't need to go that deep right now. I don't want to. So because it becomes too hot and triggery, or I'm just tired, or I have other things to do, or I don't want to, or my teen shows up and shuts it down. There's a variety of reasons. But then usually I'll go back and go deeper. I'm only sharing that with you because I want you to know that you can utilize this however you want. If you do any level of it, it will help you, right? If you get really into it and you make lots of corrections and really get into the work, you have profound levels of change because you go deeper and deeper and deeper. Like why I've been seeing Lynn as long as I have, which is like unusual. It has to do with his starting point and kind of like where he started with. But the thing is that he wants to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And at this point, he has reached a level of like, it's not a plateau, but it's like it's a bit of a plateau level of like all the different things he needs to do or different changes because he's resolved enough of it at this point. For some people, that's a year. Some people, that's 2 years. You know, and you're not working with me privately, but I'm saying you need to do the work on your own, and you have a way to do that. So it's not a requirement that you go as deep as possible. You're already pretty damn deep if you're even looking at anything like this.
Can I add something? Sure. The other thing about this stuff is it affects the filter you view the world with. Like, a girl a few months ago didn't want to have a lunch with me and sent a text about that. Well, I immediately kick in to piss off. I make up all these stories in my head, but I'm aware enough at this point. I'm like, oh, that's my teen showing up. So I kind of talk to him and chill that out a little bit because I know there's one good child over there. So I kind of sort it out, and then I look back at the text message, and I've made up all this shit she didn't even say in my head, and it wasn't even. So like maybe you're like pushing people away or like cutting bait with them. Sometimes they may not even be betraying you as much as you think they are. You can.
But it's real for you.
That.
And that's what you're saying is it's real, like, and your reality is valid. I mean, that's your reality. But as you kind of clean up some of those original wounds that have nothing to do with the person that's in front of you, and that's kind of what you're talking about, right? Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
So when you do the work and make the correction to address the original wound, right? Issue resolved. Will that issue occur again in the future, or?
So if it's a complete resolution, then no. That I can't guarantee, and that's more rare. It's usually about half. Like you get about half of it out. And so then it will show up again, but it's very small. Like in other words, it's not like that kind of a trigger anymore. It's like, oh, here's that thing. And so then you do what I call remind. So you would remind your child or teen, because you're gonna develop a relationship with these parts of yourselves. You remind that teen, hey, remember? And you can read him back the correction, or you can just remember I got this. So it reduces the charge no matter what. If there's no charge reduction, then we've done something wrong in the correction. That's literally how implicitly I trust this process now, because it's just been so many years and so many clients. So either I've made a mistake in how I showed you how to, like the content that goes in the correction, or you've missed something. Because you should feel something occur, a shift, where it actually goes down. You can physically almost feel it. But I can't guarantee you 100% resolution, because I didn't even think that was possible. Like that's just to me that was a fluke at first. I was like, wow, this person just is no longer overeating. And all we did is one correction. That must not be real. That's what I thought. Even though I made it. I was like, I don't know about this. But sometimes you correct at a deep enough level and it just goes. So then whatever symptom you're having, you don't have anymore. Symptoms are like relational problems, depression, anxiety, perfectionism, whatever you want to call it. I view those as symptoms and not actual problems. The problem is down here. The symptom is how you're responding. And so in psychology, it's all about symptoms. You treat symptoms and we call them disorders, and then you treat those. But what happens is you can make change in that area, in that symptom, but a new symptom will show up, or one that exists gets worse. So in other words, that's when I started to realize that I was plugging holes. Like I'm like, wait a minute, this person's depression's better, now they're a gambling addict. What? Like just literally, I mean, stuff like that. And I was like, what in the world is going on? So if it's at the root and you get enough out, sometimes you can get lucky. I mean, I have ones that have totally gone, clients it happens, but I don't want you to think that's what's supposed to happen all the time. You should get a reduction. Anything between 20% and above is enough of a reduction of the triggering that you should be able to handle the situation better when it shows up again. So like you have reactions to things, and then you can apply this work to clean that up, and then instead of going to people with fix my problem, fix my feelings that you're not even responsible for in the first place, but you need to fix these damn things, you've already taken care of it, and so then your relationships become very different. You actually start just sharing with people what happened, as opposed to go fix it. You're like, listen, I want you to know when you said this, I thought this about myself, and I had these feelings, and I just want you to know. And they're like, what? The fuck was that? Literally, it's like, huh? Like they're like, okay. Like, I don't know what to do with this. And it's like, you don't need to do anything. I manage me, and I want to be known. I want you to know me, and I want to know you, so I'm just going to share with you what occurred. And then if that person does actually really care about you, by the way, they don't want you to be hurting, and they'll avoid that behavior without you asking them to do it. Because you don't need it anymore. That's the thing about this plane of existence. When you don't need it anymore, it's offered to you. It's such a weird thing. This whole life thing is really weird.
And
is what a boundary.
That what you just said, like the fact that
It will go
you
soon.
tell them that how you felt about something.
Yeah, that actually is, that's sharing, but you are showing that you have boundaries.
Right.
Specifically, setting a boundary is like a little different.
You can't expect people to know your boundaries.
Not if you don't tell them what they are.
Exactly. That's like what that is.
That is an example of a sophisticated boundary setting.
Right.
To answer your question, that would be very sophisticated, as opposed to like, hey, when you do this thing, I don't like it, and so don't do that anymore. That's a boundary too.
Right.
But you know,